Hey, Rich Mama. Welcome to Rich Mama's Club. This is the official launch, the kickoff of the Rich Mama's Club podcast. Y'all have been asking me for years to create a podcast, to talk about some things, and I have felt like, look, I don't have nothing to talk about by myself all of this time, all of these things that y'all been requesting me for. But I am, I'm still say I'm a new mom. I have a 3-year-old, and I know some bomb moms who are in this entrepreneurship game who are doing their thing all over the country, all over the world, from different backgrounds, ethnicities, everything, all the things, right? So this first podcast, I'm super excited because I'm bringing my good sis, Vanessa Cabrera, who's from the Chicago area. She just relocated her family to Austin. And let me tell y'all something. Sis built her house from the ground up, okay, with her self-employed income. She went from a struggling single mom to a six-figure CEO over the 12 years that she's been in this social media game. And I admire how she moves. She is like literally an authority in this space as a business coach, as a social media strategist, and a badass mom. That's just it, y'all. So I'm so excited. Welcome, my good sis, Vanessa Cabrera. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey.
We got it going, y'all. We on a few takes, but now we are here. We are live. I am ready. Vanessa, I just told them, I just sung your praises. I told them how amazing you are. Tell us how we got here, sis. Like, you went from a struggling single mom. You've been self-employed for 12 plus years now, multiple six-figure earner, built a house up from the ground. You help amazing women like myself build up their brands online, get amazing contracts. You just do amazing things. But how did we get here, sis? How did we get here?
So first of all, congratulations on the launch of your podcast. Yeah. I am super honored to be the first guest, girl.
Yes, we coming in hot. Couldn't have anybody else.
With the Rich Mamas podcast. So I am thankful for being your first guest. So how did I get here, girl? That is a loaded question. Step by step. All of a sudden, new kids is in my head. Step by step. All right. So, I've been in this game in the entrepreneur world for a minute, over 13 years. I have been in business for myself and, started with social media. And I just, in the beginning, when I lost my corporate job, that's when this all started. So I actually started my business when I lost my corporate job 12 years ago. The same week I found out I was pregnant. And then that same week when the father found out, he also bailed. So there I was no job, no real money, no insurance, alone, and a baby on the way. But I had this idea, right? I had this idea in the back of my mind. I'm like, you know a lot. You know a lot about this social media game. And I just intuitively understood it, right? So people were always asking me, I built the Facebook page for the company that let me go and got all these followers, their target audience. And I was doing email marketing. That was my first real digital marketing experience and was sending out all these campaigns. And everyone's like, Vanessa, how are you doing this? That's how far back I go. Okay. So I was always telling people what I was doing. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with marketing in general, and it just brought out the creativity. And then when social media came out, I could just see it. I'm like, hold up. You're telling me if I post this, then this person likes it. And then this person will be able to, I just got it. And I'm like, holy crap, this is on another level, right? So I don't know, Brittany, like I just jumped. You just have to jump, right? And it's a scary ass jump. You have to jump off that cliff. You don't know where you're going to land, how you're going to land. But the only thing I could say is that I knew what I knew was incredibly valuable. And that's all I knew. So that's how I started. And slowly but surely I started, organizations started to ask me to speak about email marketing. And then I partnered with Constant Contact, and that was huge. So they were giving me speaking engagements. Then social media came really into the play. So I was doing a lot of people's social media stuff and their campaigns and their Instagram contests and all that fun stuff. And then slowly but surely I was like, I don't want to do this for anybody else. I will show you how it's done. Right. And then, after 4 years of struggling, I finally hired a coach. And I have been with a coach ever since. And that has made all the difference in the world, because I'd say the biggest lesson, and there's been many I've learned, and our coach, Shamika Tankerson, has always said, going it alone is a rookie mistake.
Mm.
So slowly but surely, I started to build my knowledge and learn a ton of new things. And I got master certified in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and timeline therapy, and all these things that I was able to plug and play. And now just crushing it between, the mindset and the marketing. That's pretty much how I roll, but I do it differently than any other coach out there, right? My clients started to experience these massive results. I'm talking multiple 5-figure months. They're landing $50,000 contracts, $60,000 contracts, 6-figure months. And they're like, holy crap, how are we doing this? And I was too. And I never thought in a million years I'd be able to make my annual salary in 1 month's time, but I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all, I get chills, y'all, because this is no cap, okay? Like, I've seen this woman work, like, and then just the biggest testimony for me seeing you move. Like, I feel inspired because I know I've been in the game for a little bit, but also I just see the value of consistency too. Like,
Yep.
you are super consistent. You have sacrificed so much. And I just really want to speak to that mom. I want you to speak from your heart to that mom who's like, okay, I've been sacrificing. I've been doing all of these things. Is it going to pay off? Is it going to be worth it? You are like, 10 plus years in the game and, having these larger climbs now, but it took you some time to get to this spot. So what do you say to that mom who's like, okay, look, I've been at this a minute. Okay, maybe I need to go get a job. And there's nothing wrong with going to get a job. But what do you say to that woman who's like at her wit's end? Like you said, you were struggling for 4 years and then you got a coach.
Oof. Listen, you need to make the decision, right? You need to make the decision. And that's what I've learned. Like, yes, I struggled and it isn't always easy. However, when I get to those bad business days, and I still have those bad business days and bad business weeks, and it's just not working. And I lost this client, and oh my gosh. And I remember those days, should I go back to work? Like, I got to pay this mortgage. Like, yo, this is no joke. I have a baby and it's all on me, and all those things. But you just have to believe that everything that you're doing and the reason why you're doing it, something will come out of it. Something. And that's really the hardest part of being an entrepreneur and going it alone in the beginning, was like having that belief, that trust, that real unknowing, but knowing that something is going to come out of it. And for me, I'm pretty freaking tenacious. Like, when I want something, I will go after it full force. So yes, there are sacrifices and all the things. But it was my journey that I had to go through. And, there was bad business years, there was great business years, and it's a roller coaster ride. It's never a straight shot. No, it's never a straight shot. We're all still trying to figure it out day in, day out, week in, week out. Right. But if you have a belief, it's just holding on to that belief and that trust and putting in the work day in and day out. And so to those moms who are like, oh man, it's just not happening, and I should go get a job, and all of that, just think about the effort you'd have to put into a 9 to 5 and what you could really accomplish when you act upon yourself and in your business in those 8 hours a day.
Man.
Something will come. I promise you something will come.
Yeah. And it's nothing, to your point, something will come. Also, we have to do better about managing our time, because sometimes too much time on your hands. Like, if you're not doing revenue generating activities, like what I love about social media is that we can turn almost anything into a revenue generating activity with call to actions, with relationship building. What about that person who maybe they're just not managing their time right? What do you say to them? That mama who's just like, I know we got a million things going on, but are you actually doing things that'll make you money?
Right. So to her, I would say this: you need to take a step back and really see if you're taking money making actions, right? Like updating your website ain't going to bring in the money, right? Like being on Canva for 3 hours ain't going to bring in the money. Okay. Working on your branding ain't going to bring in the money. What's going to bring in the money is the scary stuff that you're afraid to do. It's the live streaming, it's the hitting the stages, it's reaching out and actually going after those clients that you want to work with. It's the follow up and the follow through and, you know, sliding in people's DMs, but not in a, sleazy way. So, yes, we all have 24 hours in a day. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning, myself included, we were busy just being busy, right? But you really need to take a step back and be like, okay, am I doing really what I'm going to do today, the actions that on my to-do list, is this really going to bring in the money, right? And those are just some of the money-making activities that I do, right? I live stream on a regular basis. I post on a regular basis. I speak on a regular basis. And I go get those clients that I know I want to work with.
I love that. Now, I want to kind of shift. Let's talk about motherhood some more, right? Like you have a preteen, right? He's preteen.
Oh, Brittany, that one hurt.
I'm sorry. Well, right.
It's like a preteen. Okay, girl, you just aged me.
How old is he?
He's 9. So
he's 9. Yes. Okay. Okay. He's a little tall. My bad. He's 9. Almost there, Mama. Almost there. So you have a 9-year-old.
Yes.
Mateo, right?
Yes.
So, like, what is that like being a boy mom, managing, all the things that you're doing, and how do you explain to him, your work?
Yeah. I love to be a boy mom. I was meant to be a boy mom. I prayed for a boy. God knows what he's doing. Okay. He knows there's only one queen in this house, because if there was another girl in this house, it'd be World War III. So
Send help for me. Send help for me.
I know, girl. I was meant to be a boy mom for sure. I've always been. There's a masculine side to me, and it's just meant to be. So I love being a boy mom. What I tell them about my business, it's funny. When I got master certified in neuro-linguistic programming and timeline therapy and hypnosis, I asked my trainer, I'm like, I really want to share this information with my son because it's life-changing. It has changed my life. It has changed my clients' lives, all the things. So I asked her, how do I download this into him? And it was beautiful. She's like, treat him like a client. I was like, oh. She's like, what would you say to a client? So I'm raising him completely differently, and he knows what I do. He thinks Mama's famous. He knows Mama's been interviewed. He knows that Mama live streams because he has come on and live stream with me. He knows that Mama's been on covers of magazines. Like, he is my little PR guy. So we recently moved from Chicago to Austin, and we were in his new school, and they're like, so what is it that you do? They asked me, and my son just went to town. She's like, oh, well, she's famous. And I'm like, oh, Lord.
That's how I feel. Look,
I know. So he knows I'm an entrepreneur. He knows I'm a boss. He knows, that I go speak, and, he understands very well what it is that I do, because I'm trying to raise him as an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah. What's been like the hardest times, or like how have you dealt with like mom guilt, building this business?
Yeah, I think I don't have it as much anymore, to be honest with you, because I just had this conversation with my clients this morning. I had my mastermind this morning with my private clients, and I hate the word balance. Like, I freaking hate it. Anyone that asks me, like, Vanessa, how do you work-life balance as a single mom? I don't at all. If my business is booming, I probably haven't been to the gym in a minute, and I probably gained weight, right? If I'm spending all this time with my son, I probably slip in on some follow-up with my clients. There is no balance. So I threw that out the window.
Yeah.
But as far as mom guilt, I really don't have any. I did in the very beginning. Those first 4 years was rough. When when I was building my business. And I don't have any regrets, but I do remember like all my attention being on my laptop than the baby at the time, right? But I was in so there's a reason for it. I was trying to keep the lights on and, pay the mortgage and all the things. So in the first 4 years, I had a lot of mom guilt. And looking back, I just wish I would have asked for help sooner. I wish I would have gotten a coach sooner, but shoulda, coulda, woulda, it was my timeline and it was meant to be.
Yeah. That's something I hope somebody writes that down, asking for help. And help can look different depending on what situation you're in.
Yeah.
For me, like help was because I didn't have my husband's parents are both deceased, and we only had my mom, and she was taking care of my grandmother who has early onset dementia. So we did not have a ton of support, which hence Rich Mama's Club came out. I was just like, look, nobody told me about all this postpartum stuff. Why didn't nobody tell me about all? And like my friends started to like I feel like I created this podcast because these are conversations that I would have one-on-one with you, right? Like
Right.
Vanessa, like we chat, you like, oh yeah, just why the hell, and you walk me through the process of that. And I feel like so many women, because they don't ask for help, because they're not vulnerable, because they don't know how to create community, that they don't know how to build their ecosystem or really effectively network, they miss out on opportunities to get help in community.
Yeah.
In relationships. Let me say that, in relationships. So what are some ways that, or what are some things that you consider help in your life right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as women in general, and especially women of color, African American women, Latino women, we suffer in silence.
Mm-hmm.
We suffer in silence because that's just how we were raised. I feel that's certainly how I was raised. Like, just put a smile on your face. Everything's okay. Everything's in control. And meanwhile, it's not for you, right? So we're supposed to figure it out on our own. And so learning that lesson for asking for help and, not having all your shit together. And even though it may look like it, it's not. So when I finally put my ego to the side and was like, okay, you need help because this isn't cutting it. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like a failure because my marketing isn't working. And this is what I'm supposed to be the expert on, and imposter syndrome and, all that stuff. When I finally did that, that's when the game changed. When I reached out for a coach, when I started hanging out with different people, like I had friends who would put their fear on me. They're like, oh my gosh, how are you going to do this? How are you going to be a single mom? When are you going to, pick up Mateo from school? And how are you going to travel for speak? All this stuff. I'm like, I'm already thinking this. I don't need this. Right. So it wasn't until I asked for help and then surrounded myself with women CEOs who were doing the dang thing a hell of a lot better than me, who have been there, who are doing it better, who are more accomplished. I need to know what they know. What do you know? Right? I need to be in that room. And so once I committed to that, girl, let me just say, it is a different world when you're hanging out with neighbors and friends on the weekend and people are bitching about Trump, bitching about COVID, taxes, all this stuff. It would literally drain me. And I'm like, these are not my people. And then come Monday morning, I'm in a mastermind with, multiple $1 million CEOs. The conversation is very different. We ain't thinking about Trump. We ain't thinking about this. We are just completely focused on what we got to get done and keep it moving forward. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay. I see now. Right. So that's been a game changer. I asked for help, got it. And ever since, I now know I need to be the dumbest in the room.
Ooh, that's a bar. You need to be the dumbest in the room. I could say right when COVID hit, I ran masterminds, I ran coaching programs, and I didn't realize how much I was getting drained, which is why I had to exit my first business. I was like, when I figured out alone to that point, everything it was going to take to scale the business, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was that burned out.
Yeah.
And I almost feel myself like kind of getting there again. I'm like, okay, I know what everything is going to take. But I also realized that processes are something that they're learned. right? Like you have to learn
Yeah.
how to put in together processes.
Yeah.
And I come from a self-employed family, like I'm a third generation entrepreneur, but all of them worked in the business. They never got to exit or duplicate themselves. So something now I'm learning to be a CEO. I'm like, I have to learn processes. I have to
Mhm.
learn management skills. I have leadership skills. Management skills are much different. Like how do you manage a team and all these other
Yeah.
things? Like I could get people right. So it's just different conversations that you need to have, and it's different skills that you learn as an entrepreneur. I never would have been exposed to this in my in the field that I worked in, because I did not have people enough who were confident in themselves to let me sit at the table.
Right.
I had people who were always, you're doing too much, you did it, like all of this other stuff, you're too loud, your hair too big, all the things, right? Not knowing that that was really their insecurities. I had to get in different environments where people were so into themselves, where me being themselves only made it was edifying to them, if that makes sense. Like,
Yes.
those spaces. But I just have to say, like, I feel what you were saying to the core of me. I was debating whether I wanted to go back to this conference in June. It's twice a year, and I was like,
Mhm.
man, girl, you just traveled. You did 4 cities in 4 months. Like, and I'm like, I'm tired, but I feel myself lagging because I'm getting in that environment again where I'm the smartest person in the room, where I'm
Yep.
the person that invests in myself the most. Like, and that's no disrespect to anybody like who might be watching, who I'm around on a daily, but no disrespect to anybody. But like when you're around people that make you like not, they don't let you shrink. Like they push you. They what is the word? They challenge you.
Mhm.
It's different. And you
It's
have to
different.
constantly be in environments when you're challenged. So yeah, I was like, no, you just really like put the battery back in my back. Like, yeah, you need to go ahead and figure out how you get back to this conference and get back in this room for that weekend to breathe again. Cause I feel like when I'm in those environments, I can breathe again. I'm not crazy. I'm a risk taker, but like, you get what I'm saying? Like, but when you get around the wrong people, the conversation really is different. Like, you're like, oh, you gonna do that? You got a baby? I'm like, you not gonna do it? Like, but yeah. Anyway, you got me on a whole tangent, girl. You got me
I love it. I love it. I love it.
that
Yeah.
aha moment. That aha moment. So let's talk about some of like the highlights of your career now, like with being a mom. Like I just talked about, like I know that I wouldn't have had these opportunities had I stayed in my former career. What has that looked like for you? Like, what are some things, like we talk about all the risks and all the things, but like what's something that's happened that wouldn't have happened if you stayed in your traditional 9 to 5?
Oh gosh. I think the first like, holy crap, I'm pulling this off moment. You just took me back there, Britt, was when I first got paid to speak and they paid for my travel and airfare. Like
Yeah.
I was like, okay, okay, you're gonna be all right. You could be art because for so long I was, paying out of pocket, right? So I was traveling to these conferences on my own dime. And let me tell you, handing over that corporate card is pretty damn easy. Handing over your own card is like, oh, damn, right?
Yeah, like I
So,
gotta pay this when I get home.
ooh, yeah. I mean, I love my corporate card, girl. I miss those miles. I miss those points, girl, because I was charging serious bank in corporate days. But yeah, that was like a big turning point where someone asked me to speak and they asked me what I charged. And, I told them what I charged, which was totally lowball back then, but they were like, okay. And then, said, okay, we'll pay your airfare and your meal and all that. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like a big exhale where I'm like, you're okay. You're going to be
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big one. Um, yeah, just get like anytime like someone reaches out to me or I'm approved for a conference or a big conference which I would have never thought. Now it's my norm. Like, yeah,
It starts to get normal
it's
real
just who
quick,
I
don't
am,
it?
right? It's just who I am now. But yeah, that was a big turning point, a big highlight. Another big highlight was last year, even though last year was a struggling year. And I talked about this in my live stream last week, and I kept it for real. Like everyone sees the new house and, moving across the country, and Vanessa's making all this money and her clients are killing it. And all that is true. Those are facts, right? but no one talks about what it took, the behind the scenes, what I was really going through last year. And so I finally opened up to my audience. And that's one thing, I'm 100% real with my audience. I'm like, this is what I was going through. And everyone's like, what? I'm like, life was lifing, right?
Yeah.
But another highlight was last year, CEO Weekly chose me as one of the top 15 business coaches in the nation. I was like, oh, I got that email, girl. I got that email. And, I'm like, this is a scam, or how much do I got to pay, or, all
Right?
that stuff.
You got to pay to play. You think,
You got to pay to play. And they're like, no, we've done research. We saw, this and that, what you're accomplishing. And I was like, oh my God. And so that one took me a minute to process. I was like, really? Now I'm like, of course. Why not me? I worked damn hard for this. So that's been a highlight of it. And then, buying this brand new house for sure. Because when I started, I remember, Britt, that was my biggest fear. One of my biggest fears when I first started my business, when I was pregnant and alone and all the things, was being homeless. That was a real fear. I had a real fear. And my family now laughs at me. They're like, a girl, that would never happen, right? But in my head, it was very real. And so if you fast forward, in 12 years, me being able to afford a brand new house on my own with the money I made from my coaching business alone, I'd be like, you are crazy. But that's who I am now.
Man, so much to unpack there. Like Shamika always says, like who you be, like it's in your DNA. It's how you move. It's not who you become. It's like who you always were, but you're just really being. I'm just soaking it all in, y'all. This is for me. It's not for y'all, for real. It's for me.
Yeah.
Talk about that process of deciding to move your family across the country, like doing a new build, because you didn't buy a home, you built a home.
Yeah.
What was that process like as an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people don't know, like, yeah, I heard of people doing it, but a lot of like realtors and stuff, like, it really frowned at like that. You got to find the right lender who is willing to do the work. But a lot of them are like, oh, well, you should just go get a job for a minute so they can back it up. Like, a lot of industries don't want to deal with self-employed income, but you did it, honey. You not only did it, like, you did it on the highest level and moved across the country. So talk about that process to a mom who is, and what I'm gonna just say, this ain't for y'all. Like, it's a reiteration for me that it's doable. Okay, so talk about that, Vanessa.
Yeah. So one thing I knew, don't get me wrong, I love Chicago. It was a great place to grow up. It's a beautiful city, all the things. I still have family there and we'll go back and all that. But one thing I knew is that I didn't want to live in the same place my whole life. And I just didn't know where. So it was about 6-7 years ago. I was a part of a mastermind, always being coached. And it started in New York and ended in Austin. And I traveled everywhere when I was in corporate. I was very blessed to travel the world and the country. So I've been to many different places, Dallas, Houston, all over the place, lived in airports. I don't know, girl. I landed here in Austin and there was just a vibe where, I don't know, from the minute I landed, and then I got to know the area and I'm like, it's so lush and it's green and it's hilly. And I'm like, where am I? This is Texas. Like, where am I? And my Uber driver was like, we're different than Dallas and Houston. I'm like, clearly. So I just fell in love with the people. Everyone was really nice, the food, all the things. And I'm like, okay. So Austin just kind of stuck with me. And then when I made the decision, it always starts with the decision. I made a decision. I'm like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to move. And I sold my house in a day. 2 years ago when the market was hot for sellers, right? I'm like, this is it. This is the time. So I sold my house, and like I said, step by step, man, you figure it out. Everything's figure outable. So I had a friend who lived here. I called her up. I'm like, can I crash with you to check out Austin? She's like, absolutely. She showed me around. I got a realtor who was from Chicago, who just moved here. So he spoke my language. I'm like, don't put me here. Don't put me in Rockford. Put me here, right? Like all these little idiosyncrasies that just kept lining up, right? And then, yeah, we had to work on the finances and everything lined up. Like I had the money, I had the credit score, I was doing everything right. Even with that, though, what pisses me off, and it still pisses me off, but I get it. It's because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a high risk. I had to have a cosigner, but I figured that out, right? Um, and interest rates were rising, and I was in this legal battle with my ex, and all the things. And here's the thing: I saw it. I saw it clear as day. I was already there.
Mm.
That's how ferocious I was. I'm like, I'm already there,
Yeah.
right? Ain't no one going to tell me where I can live and where I can go. Not no one. No one. It's up to me. And time waits for no one.
Yeah.
This is going by fast. My son is now 9, right? So I move quick. I make decisions quick. I move quick. I understand that that's what it takes, right? Like you make a decision, great, fantastic, it worked. You make a decision, holy shit, it failed. What can we learn from this,
Yeah.
right? You gotta move. You gotta move, right? And then just take it step by step. So yeah, we figured it out, and I got a decent rate. Had to throw money at it. That meant I had to stay consistent, go after those corporate contracts, right? Follow up, all the things, book more speaking engagements, like everything I know to do, the scary things I know to do, right? And then the time came where everything fell into place, and I won my legal stuff with my ex, and I told my son, I'm like, we're free to go. When do you want to go? And he's like, spring break. I'm like, okay, done.
And you
You
made
just
it
figure
happen.
it out. You just figure it out step by step. If you really want it and you were meant for more, you figure it out. You get help along the way. You surround yourself with smarter people than you. You take it step by step and know it's going to work out. It's just going to work out. I don't know how. I made it this far, but I ain't stopping now. No, ma'am. I feel like on many levels, I'm just getting started. So, yeah, that's how it happened.
Y'all, if you don't feel inspired, I'm trying not to shout because sis missed her calling as an inspirational speaker. Like, look, she's a subject matter expert, but you have so much like just vibrancy and you speak life like into situations. Like it's impossible not to believe bigger after talking to Vanessa Cabrera. Like that's just it. I just want how do people work with you? Like what are some of the things that you do? And one who's an ideal client like for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, the best way to really get to know me is befriend me on Facebook. That's where I roll. Befriend me on Facebook. And I work with corporations. I do work with males, but genuinely, I tend to attract women entrepreneurs. And going deeper, I tend to attract single mompreneurs or mompreneurs where they're like, how is she doing this? If she can do it, I can do it. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, you can. And they tend to be ambitious as hell women entrepreneurs. They're overachievers. They're absolute experts in their field. They just need to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
They know that they're meant for more. They see other people doing what they want to do, meaning me and other coaches or whatnot out there, and they know they can do it too. Um, but yeah, they just need someone to help them get out of their way. And a lot of it is, strategy. And people come to me for social media marketing strategy, and that's what I love to talk about. But it's really helping them figure out what it is that they really want, number one, and then figuring out what is holding them back. Something is holding every single one of us back. Fear, limiting beliefs, what we were taught, all this stuff that we don't even know is holding us back. That's the breakthrough I had going through NLP. I was like, oh, that's why I do what I do on an unconscious level, right? I assumed it's money blocks or it's this, but where did it stem from? And then how do we get rid of it? And so, yeah, that's who I work with. So people, women entrepreneurs who knew they were meant for more and who are stuck, who are struggling, they just can't figure it out. And then they know that they need help. That's who I roll with.
Love that. Love that. Now, as we kind of wrap, we're like at almost that time. What's been like the best parenting hack you could offer? Maybe something you caught that you weren't taught, that you was like, oh, I see that. I'm gonna keep that in my parenting deck.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, again, going through my NLP training, that changed the game. And I'm raising my son completely different now, but like really understanding your little one's love language, like
Hmm.
how they best take in information, because we're all different human beings, we're all different souls, thank God. We're all built differently, right? And so when I was going through my training and understanding how people take in different information, and we all take in information in four ways. So visually, we have to see it. Auditory, we have to hear it, right? Um, Kinesthetic, where that's that gut feeling, which is one of my strong suits. I'm kinesthetic to no end, right? Um, Auditory digital, when we're in our head, when we talk to ourselves, right? So we all take in information that way, taste and smell too, right? But one or two are always a little stronger than the other. And so when I was going through my training, Britt, oh my God, and I finally understood this, it hit me like a bolt. I'm like, oh, my son is visual. He is visual. I'm auditory. I'm auditory. So when I was teaching him how to read, I would get frustrated because I'm like, sound it out. And he'd be like, I'm like, why is this so difficult? Like, sound it out. As soon as I got that, I understood him. He's kinesthetic and visual. And we had our first, I went to check in, called him via video chat. Girl, we had the best conversation that we've ever had, ever. And because I understood him and what he said to me, he's like, Mama, you see me now.
Wow.
I was like, oh,
Girl.
I
Wow.
was like, oh my God, yes, I do, baby. I see you. I see you. And so when I came home, I mean, teachers know this, but I didn't know this, right? I'm as a single mom. And so, girl, I had the ABCs all over the dang wall and taped to all mustard, ketchup, all this stuff. And bam, did he not learn to read? I was like, holy crap. So
Mm.
knowing that about him, he's kinesthetic. He loves to be hugged. He loves touching. He's emotional. He's extremely intuitive. He's an old soul too. This ain't his first. This ain't his first go around. And I know that about him, and he knows that about himself. So I'd say that
Yeah,
game changer once you understand your own kid's love language.
that's so good. And to a point, like the Clifton strengths for me, like when me and my husband first got together, we did our love languages. And then
Yeah.
I did like a few different compatibility things. Y'all don't sleep on these assessments for your relationships, for your children, because when I
Hmm.
did the Clifton strengths, I took it for me. I bought it for all of my team. I bought it for my husband. And I'm like, oh, snaps. Like, now I'm seeing like a lot. Like I'm an action. My number one strength is activation. So I will get on. I'm a doer. Like I'm a
Yes.
doer. I
Yes,
mean,
you are.
started like communication is second, and like a few other things. I have like all these relationship building skills and influence skills. And my
Yeah.
husband, one of his skills was deliberate. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I had to go look up what deliberate meant. And
Mhm.
it's a person like they're very intentional and they take their time and they want to do it right. And it's almost like a bit of like perfectionism. And I am not a person, I believe in X, but I don't believe in perfection. So I'm a done is better. While we were
Yeah.
in therapy, like my therapist, she's like, you know what deliberate means? And I'm like, no, not really. I'm like, I just know that he takes forever to do everything. Like just, and I'm saying it's like, in my marriage, but I know that when my daughter gets old enough and I could give her these assessments, I'll be like, I'm able to see some of her inner Aries and all of the, I'm able to see
Yeah.
some of these traits, all of these things. It's so important to do the work on us, because when you do the work on you, then you have tools to use in life, like in
Exactly.
relationships and motherhood and all the things. So it's just
Exactly.
like so like a breath of fresh air. And like now we've been like much more in harmony in my household because I invested right in new tools. So when you were saying that, like I think people are always looking at like, oh, well, people want you to spend all this money, all this other stuff. But people don't get it. Once you make that investment, you make that decision to become a better version of you, everything changes.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true.
Everything changes. So yes, I'm so happy we could have this conversation. You told them to add you on Facebook. Is there anything that you want to share with us? Anything you got going on? So by the time this airs, you will already have been in St. Louis. So you guys,
Oh, okay.
she will be here for MDMC Midwest Digital Marketing Conference that's held by UMSL, but that'll already be passing. So look, if you get to catch her, you get to catch her. But she on these Facebook streets, tap in with her, amazing entrepreneur, even amazing, like even more amazing as a mom. I admire you. I thank you for the relationship that we built over this last year. And taking the time to come on and give gems like you always do. You are so selfless, and always willing to spread a word of wisdom. And I definitely want to give you flowers for that. Just being, another woman of color, often in our communities, we are really faced with so many different adversity,
Yeah.
adversity, so many different things, so many barriers. And
Yeah.
when we can come together and share advice and come in community, share audiences, all those things, it just makes life better. So just thank you for being willing. That's it.
Yes. I was so honored. Yo, I met Brittany at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference last year, and we
Yeah.
were on a panel together. And I will never forget, like, we had a meeting before. I'll never forget, we were watching other speakers speak, and they were done. And someone said, "Does anyone have any questions?" And Brittany raised her hand. And the energy and the attention that the room just went straight to Brittany. I'm like, that's Brittany. I'm like, that is so Brittany. I was like, holy cow, your energy was fire just as an attendee. I'm like, Lord, I have to share the stage with this one. I'm like, okay. That's why you're such a great MC.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh. I was like, yeah, that's about right. I'm gonna get to know her. Yeah, we gonna throw down. I don't know how, I don't know when, but there was something I really liked about you instantly. And that's how I roll. I make connections. So I'm like, let's keep in touch. What are you up to?
Yeah, and it's not been transactional. It's been a year now, and we
Yeah.
just kind of stay in touch with each other, cheer each other on. We
Mhm.
both got an award last year, a game on live at Shamika Tankerson's, right? Shout out to us.
Yeah.
And just being able to, so I just really want people to catch this, y'all. Thank you for my flowers. But y'all, relationships should be transformational and not transactional. Like there's no like money that's been
Mm-mm.
dispersed between the both of us, as of yet. But we are growing and developing and being able to refer each other to things and so many different things. So you guys, you never know what will come out of like when people go to conferences to just listen to people on stage. I'm like, you're getting the least of the value out of the room. You need to
Yeah.
be connecting with people, creating relationships. So yeah, she was one of the relationships I stayed in contact with.
Yeah.
It was fire. Look,
For sure. I made
yeah,
a beeline for you after that when it was done. I'm like, you're Brittany.
girl, and we chopped it up. And then I was like, hold on, are you in sales school? Like all
I
of this.
know. And then after I'm like, yes, I am. I'm like, stop. I love
Look,
it.
made it happen. Made it happen. Okay. So I'm going to like any final words, any wrap up that you got, like a word of encouragement for people before we wrap.
I would say just belief is just so vital. That's the real work. Strategy and posting and networking and all the things. But man, you got to be your number one fan. I always say entrepreneurship is believing in yourself 24/7.
Mm,
And that's it.
that's it, and that's all. Well, thank y'all for tuning in to the first episode of Rich Mama's Club, the podcast. We're finally here. If you want to learn more about Rich Mama's Club, just stay tuned. You're going to see this quick little snippet of our community. I would love to have you. You can check out richmamasclub.com. I'm Brittany, Raji, Alberty, your host. This has been Vanessa Cabrera, the best business coach and social media strategist in the game, y'all. Moms, look, big energy, all the things, women of color, making it happen. I hope you feel inspired. I hope you feel confident. And share this with someone if it was helpful to you. We'll see you next time. Hey mama, I know you enjoyed this episode. I just wanted to let you know that you should tap into community because you need friends. You deserve to be around people who love, support, and accept you for who you are and can hold your hand along this journey. So check out Rich Mama's Club. Thanks for watching.